Blimey, I really don't like this mains here right by the deck. I mean, you'd only have to have your hand somewhere around here and sneeze, and you just get snot everywhere. Hello, welcome to another MrBetaByte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at the NEC PVC-740E Betamax video recorder. Dates from about 1982, so this would have been a great one to have in the class of 82 video showdown that I did recently. And indeed, I'm sure somebody actually did mention that this would have been a good one to have in that showdown. So this deck is basically a Sony C5 deck. It's described as married up to NEC designed circuitry with lots of Sony chips. It's sort of very much a sort of NEC's take on, if you like, the C5. Now I do have the complete video guide by Tim Smith, dating from 1981, and you can see I've bookmarked it here. Alongside the C5 here, we have the PVC-700. Now this was the machine that came before the 740, and this dates from 1979. Basically, just reading through this is it offers similar range of facilities to Sony's new C5 machine, but the retail price is slightly higher. So the retail price is $499, and the Sony Betamax is $449, the C5. So, but it does have the color search option as opposed to black and white with the C5. So it does actually say here that the remote controls infrared, which is interesting because it isn't. But it also says it's infrared for the C5, so they obviously got that wrong. But you can see the dimensions are identical. The weight isn't identical. It really is very much a take on the Sony C5. Although the deck C5 based, sort of, I would say the deck is much more like the SL3000, the portable unit from Sony. And you may well remember the video I did on that with Lils, sort of going through that and getting it up and running. So this will have a lot of the deck faults of the SL3000, and its own faults, if you like, for the electronics because of the NEC side to things. This machine is actually a working machine, but it's had nothing done to it. It's had no restoration or checks or whatever. So yeah, it's very much sort of a good used machine, which is actually really lovely to see in this day and age. So things that spring to mind, I've got problems with the clock setting. It's really difficult to set the clock. I can see it is sort of doing it, but the buttons feel very sort of dead. I can't set the day at all, I don't think. Yeah. And also, I want to check the power supply. There is a battery, from what I remember, in the power supply that can leak and cause all sorts of problems. But we'll check that and refresh my memory. I have only seen about 4 of these machines previously. worked on 3. And the first one I ever saw was actually in the very late 80s. It's probably about 88, 89. My best mate, actually, his dad had one as their main video recorder down in the front room, record TV programs, whatever, and it did a good job. It was great. But I always thought it was really dowdy. I mean, I was getting into the Toshiba 9600s, V9600s then, which I know lots of people don't like, but I thought they were great at the time anyway. So, with that, let's crack on. So the first thing we're going to look at is the power supply, and I have to say, I'm really looking forward to this. This is the first time I've actually looked at a machine, or one of these machines, for pleasure, rather than just to get it going or fix it for someone else or whatever. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. You'll notice that the flap, the top loading mechanism, is very similar in design to the Sony C5, C7. And we'll see if that's true when I actually go to take it off. Do I need to eject? No. Yeah, it comes off. Lovely. That's what you want. So yeah, we'll go through the deck. Just check the quality of that as well. Once we get the cover off. So there's 2 screws at the back. Off it comes. So let's have a quick look at the deck, which actually looks really, really good. So tidy. Such low hours. You can actually see there's no wear on the upper drum at all, and yeah, everything looks like new. It's really lovely. Yeah, I mean, it's just perfect, really. So you can see here the similarity with the SL3000 deck, insofar as it has an extra motor compared to the C5, C7 for the lacing ring, and big hole. This I always think's fun. They put the mains input right by the deck, so it's always quite fun. That would be live, so no covers, which you have to love. But this is the power supply, and I think there is a battery maybe still in there, but yeah, let's take this out and have a look at it. So the power supply is out, and here it is. It's just literally 4 screws. I didn't show that because, well, the angles are terrible. There's not much space to get a camera in there and a screwdriver. But there it is. And I was remembering completely incorrectly where the battery was. And you can see here, this is a clue. So if I just bring you in, there is the battery. And you can see it's been quite happily spewing a little bit of rubbish out. So yeah, let's get that board out and get that battery removed. So move this screw here. And one thing I do find, or I've remembered with these machines, is these metal cable management things can be a real pain in the neck, to be honest. Not so bad at the top, but there's actually some that use a power supply screw to sort of manage cabling, and there's a grounding strap as well, and it's not easy. It's not that easy to get that back in, sort of when you're going right deep into a machine, so not ideal. But yeah, so that's a grounding strap as well. So let's lift the board out. I'm putting these off, assuming that they're going to be unique, like they are on the Sonys, but I could possibly come a cropper there, but still. There we go. So you can see there, the battery, I mean, it actually isn't that terrible, but it has obviously been leaking. It's quite green. So let's cut that out. Whoops. And I do just cut them out. Don't desolder them. If I can help it. Out of interest, let's just see if there is any charge on there, because this has been on quite recently. I'm sure there won't be. Whoops. Let's stick that there. That's fine, you can see that. Yeah, pretty much nothing. A tiny bit of something there, but that's not gonna keep your memory. So, but the board is good, so that's great. I'm guessing that is all the clock there, but I don't know. So, yes. So I'll put this back in and we'll have a look at the power supply. So the power supply, remove the 4 screws off the side, and that actually allows you to get full access to the whole power supply. Obviously not the board, but the board's actually on plastic standoffs, which maybe isn't the best thing, but it's fine. But the design of this power supply is amazing. I mean, it's really so robustly built, and I could argue it puts the Sony C7 power supply to shame in some ways, because it's well built, good capacitors, good quality capacitors. We don't seem to have those horrible 4.7 microfarad 350 volts capacitors that always blow the transistors in the SMPSU. So yeah, I don't know what's going on here. This is obviously a modification. It's been done in the factory. Very bodgy. But you could argue no more bodgy than Sony's efforts. Interesting diodes. You see those there, like bead diodes. It's quite weird. For bridge rectifier there. And but yeah, I'm quite happy to just put this back together and put it back in the machine, to be honest, because that is absolutely fine. I mean, I have no reason to believe that there's anything in there that's really going to give any real issues, especially as it's so tidy. I mean, it's so clean. It's amazing. One thing I do notice, I mean, probably saw there, that capacitor is not that well soldered, like close to the board. And these transformers, I mean, they're just floating about somewhat. But yeah, I'm happy with that. That can just go back in, and yeah, we'll have a look at those front switches, I think, next. Power supply's back in, and I have got the cable management sort of in place. It's all good. It's interesting that they're actually sort of wider screw holes for wider power supply then in here as well. So obviously there was a higher output power supply, but this is pretty beefy. 12 volts, 10 volts, 2.5 volts AC. Really well built power supply. I would probably say this is one of the best power supplies of this generation of machines that I've seen. And obviously switch mode as well. So it's not like the Sanyos, but really just so well made. And it is something I sort of expect from NEC. NEC are a very good company for building consumer electronics. I mean, it had so much to do with the projectors that they make over the years. So let's look at these switches next. Now, I think I am right in saying that I should just be able to remove the 3 top screws. You'll notice there's a bit of metal on the outers for whatever reason, or the outer, it's only on the one. The reason I was a bit confused, you will see in a second probably. There we go. Pop that off. Yeah, I was a bit confused because of that, which is... Oh, I see. It's just it's a bit of a bodge, isn't it? So you can see here, this bit of metal isn't actually fixed. So to stop it from potentially getting pushed too far forward so the buttons are pressed or don't work properly, they've put this bit of metal here. It's just screwed in. That's really bodgy. Love it. Really cool. So, yeah, these switches, do they look familiar to you? And they're all pretty dodgy, to be fair. The same as the switches used on the C7 timer module. You can see here, I've got here, this is one that's really rotted out thanks to the battery. See just how bad they get. Yeah, all of those are gone, and they're the same. So now Kevin did actually put in a switch repair kit, but I'm not going to use the switches on this. I'm actually going to use the modern equivalent switches, just because I do like the click. I think the click would suit this machine. So it'll be pretty much the same thing. Put them at an angle, just 2 of the 4 legs of the switch, and so put them at an angle across, and yeah, all should be good. And you can also see here, while we're at it, the channel display. You can see obviously there was room for 12 in all for different markets. It's got an E on the top for European, so 740E. But of course you could pop these out if you wanted to, pop in different numbers. I often did wonder how they expected you to get replacement numbers, but well, I suppose for the UK market it was never an issue. But yeah, anyway, I digress. I'm going to change the switches and yeah, take it from there. So I've managed to remove the timer front panel, but it's actually quite a job to do. 2 screws at the front, here and here, and they are self-tappers. And then there are 2 metal screws, one here and one below this loom here. And then you've got 2 of these plastic clips one is here, and then there's another one which I don't think you need to actually remove, not at this stage anyway, to get it out here. But obviously I will need that out, and this one as well, to get the button assembly off. So let's lift that out, and there we go. We have access. It's not great access, but yeah. So we'll try these switches and see how we get on. So yeah, let's crack on. So this button's all done, and I suppose we better give them a try. Oh, one thing I missed. One of these. So these can be an absolute pain in the neck, especially at this age, because the plastics don't always play ball, but that's gone straight in, which is great. There we go. So let's see if they work. That's interesting. That's okay. It's a little bit of bleed on the VFD. I have to keep pressing. Don't know what that one is, or that one. I think that's for timer setting. So yeah, that's cool. Dim bright, that works. So I suppose the next thing is to put the front on and to see if it still works with the front on. It should be identical. I mean, the switches are exactly the same as the Sony, but you never know. So yeah, let's do that next. So front panel back on, so let's see if it still works. Oh yeah, so start, length, and program clear. So super. So these will be these fluorescent lamps, similar to the C6. So I quite like them, to be honest. Quite a nice look. So flaps not sitting quite right, but yeah, great. So that's all done. So I suppose the next thing is to try a tape and yeah, see what's next with the deck. Okay, so next let's have a quick look at the deck. Now I have to say a quick look because it's immaculate. I mean, it's really all of the components are so nice. The pinch rod is really good. Tape path is nowhere. I mean, this thing has just not been used. There's a fantastic air cushion on there. I will clean the heads. So, usual method. Bit of paper, some isopropyl, and we'll just put that there. I should drop some isopropyl. Don't expect these to be terribly dirty. Yeah, there's a bit of dirt. But it's not bad. There is actually quite a lot of dust around. It's made it quite a bit does yet. This thing has just not seen use. It's amazing. Capstan is actually really good. Tiny bit of contamination, so using the paper, which is probably not the best idea. But yeah, that's. You can actually turn the capstan on these to the finger as well. Yeah, so that's pulled off quite a bit of muck, to be honest. Yeah, let's give it a test, I suppose. Okay, so let's power it on. Magic. We can be all posh and just at least get the clock to tick. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a playback test. I'm going to do a record test using our good old faithful MVF S1. Probably got that wrong again, haven't I? And yeah, so we're at standby, so we're on. Just give it a load. And does that need to be? Yeah, so I need to get that down. So it's not bad torque. There's a little bit of something going on with the fast forward, but it's minimal. But rewind, my goodness, it's good. So I need multiple hands for play. So press play. And that's looking good. Excellent. So let's try tape. Just wanted to make sure I didn't have any isopropyl on these heads as well. So just giving them a spin with nothing in them in the machine is probably not a bad idea. So just one tape on a bit. That's great, isn't it? That absolutely perfect take-up torque. You know what I might do? I might get the Sony case out in a minute. We'll just have a look. But yeah, there we go. So tracking is by the on-off button on these. Furthest left, furthest right. That is good. Let's have a look at the pause. So it's a colour still, obviously with some noise it tries to correct itself. No trick modes. Well, let's try. Yeah, no trick modes. So not like the Toshiba where you can press forward or play and it'll frame advance, so that's fine. Picture search forward, back. Nice. That's really very good. Okay, so let's press eject, see what happens. Perfect. So you can see here the idler there is driven by the heads, just like on the C5 and the 3000. So, whoops. Let's put our blank set in, which isn't blank. I used this the other day on another video. Can't remember what, oh, it was proms or something, wasn't it? So it's probably what we'll be doing this time. I know it's got sort of random bits on there. I don't know why that's black and white necessarily. I think that was yeah, it's test recording. Yeah, that's cool. That wasn't very good. Let's get the Panasonic sorted. I made that look a lot more difficult than it was, or should have been. Let's press play on there. So under here we've got the input select, so line in, and we've got the usual with this. When it's cold, you get noise on the screen from the capacitors until they sort of get going a bit. So yeah, just ignore that. So just press record. So that's all working well. We'll test RF in a minute as well. Connections on the back. It's the usual sort of BNC in, out. So BNC video in, BNC video out. Audio, it's a stereo deck that I'm coming off, so I've got a splitter for the input and this type of splitter for the output to the TV, just so it sounds a bit better coming through both speakers, even though it's mono. Amazing. And so let's see if recording is going to be all right. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Like I say, the noise is down to the input. So tracking furthest left, tracking furthest right. Loses a little bit there. That's, oh no, it doesn't. That was just something that happened. Cool. So, wow, what a machine! I feel quite humbled to have this machine. Yeah, so let's crack the Sony case open and let's just see what the back tension is like. So forward and back tension cassette, and helpfully on the actual case of the tape, data from 1985, as you can see. Forward should be 35 to 45, and take up 60 to 110. So let's see what we get. So we've got 50, 45, and then 130. So take up is 130. It's a bit high compared to the C7, but I'm still happy with that. That's good. The back tension is about 40 to 45. It does vary. So that's really good. I'm happy with that. Surprised that the take up is that high. It's amazing. It's such a great deck. So yeah, let's try the rewind and fast forward tensions. So next, the SL0004 cassette, and again, very helpfully, rewind 8, fast forward 12, unlace 1. So fast forward 12. Well, that's just gone through the roof. It's actually a lot more. So these are minimums, so if it's over 12, then that's good. Rewind, 8. That's through the roof. And then unlace. So let's see. Unlace, I mean, it needs to be a minimum of 1. My goodness, what a machine. I'm really blown away by it. Kevin, thank you so much. I'm so glad you passed this on, rather than it sort of going to waste or whatever. Tiny bit of dust through there. Starting to get fussy with it now. Yeah, anyone think I was starting to fall for this machine? But it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. So, yeah, I think I'm going to put it back together and sort of try and get over my slightly shocked status. And yeah, we'll wrap it up. So there we have it, all working. And I'm just so over the moon with this machine. I'm really just can't say how pleased I am with it. It's just brilliant. So what do I think about the machine? Sort of from a Betamax perspective. Where does it sit? I mean, it's a bit of an odd one because it has a Sony deck, and it has an absolutely brilliant power supply, and the rest of the electronics isn't too bad. I understand these can suffer from servo issues, just like the C5, C7, but to a much lesser extent, which is good. I mean, this machine's spot on, 100% spot on. It does have some quirks, like there's no play button, it's just forward, which can be a bit confusing because you've got fast forward and then forward, pitch search, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you've got the same arrangement with the on-off button as with a C5, C7. Tracking is right by it, which I have known people sort of go for the tracking button and knock the power switch. I've heard that sort of back in the 90s as being a bit of a complaint about it. Every time I go for the tracking, I keep knocking the power switch and I turn it off. You know, sort of slap it. So yeah, the input select, it's got the remote connector there. I don't know what that remote would actually have been like, whether it was Sony compatible, yeah, I don't know anything about that. Inputs and outputs, yeah, you know, standard Sony affair, sort of, yeah, there you go. Interesting that it uses a cold kettle lead and IEC lead, so it's earthed, which is, I would say, a bit of a cop-out in some ways, because the way all the mains is sort of arranged, and it's just so open, and all by metal bits of chassis, and thin bits of metal as well, holding some of those boards. It's just like, I'll just earth it. Let's just earth it. You know, we don't want people getting electrocuted, just earth it. Yeah, so not so impressed with that. Obviously, we've got the RF house as well, which we haven't tested. I might just test that right at the end. Tuning, the standard sort of what you'd expect for sort of the early 80s. So AFT, it's pretty useless these days anyway. Interesting, sourcing the switches was the same as the Sony, and I have to say they feel so much better with the modern switches, and you know, it's actually, these actually feel better in this machine than they do on the Sony clock modules. So yeah, but my only other thing with it really is just the bodgy methods that they've used to sort of make sure things don't fall apart or feel weird. Like there's that bit of metal brackets here, where the front cover screws on. To stop this from getting pressed in when you press these, the board would move back otherwise. And similarly on this side, there's a bracket to hold this PCB back, so it always feels the same. So yeah, but so that's sort of my feeling with the actual quality of the build and the whole machine, and especially as this was, 50 quid more expensive than the C5, which back then was quite a lot of money, really. I mean, I know you're getting a few extra little bits and pieces, but the end consumer wouldn't care about the fact that this has a really good switch mode power supply, and it is actually really well made. So I don't know. Yeah, was it worth the extra 50 quid? I don't know. But yeah, absolutely fantastic machine. If I'd seen one of these back in the 90s, I would have fallen in love with it and totally revised my feeling about them looking dowdy, because actually I think they look really pretty good, to be fair, for the time. So, going to just quickly check the RF, I suppose. Okay, so test signal on, and I had actually forgotten about this, that it's not straight down the middle, the split. These machines, so it's quite a bit over to the left of the screen, the white area. Got some interesting colour going through there. I think that's actually breakthrough, Yeah, it is. It's breakthrough. So let's just see if that is breakthrough. So I've stopped the tape now. You can see it went straight away. Yeah, so the video signal is just creeping through slightly. Let's work that switch just a bit, just in case, because obviously it's not been used much. But I seem to vaguely remember that as well. Yeah, you can see still a little bit of distortion there, just creeping through, but yeah. Yeah, you just get the video sort of signal from playback just creeping through. So, yeah. So there we have it. Oh, it's such a nice machine. Wow, and the RF is just brilliant, because of course the TV is compensating for the fact that it's standard UHF. So it is smoothing it out a bit as well, but it looks absolutely fantastic when you do that. I will say, if you do want to watch back, just for pleasure, tapes, and you can do it through the RF to your TV, then do it, because it really is, the TV will compensate for basically the noise and the mess in the picture, and it'll look great, and that really does look great. It's, yeah, better than TV. So, there we have it. Obviously we haven't looked at underneath this, and I'm not going to take it apart, to be honest. I'm not taking the bottom off this, because it really is, it's pointless. It's a great machine. It's working well. At some point I probably will take the bottom off, and we'll just have a look. And I no doubt we'll share that in a video, maybe an updates video or whatever, depending. Yes, so with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different, wasn't it, in the end? But yeah, and VFDs seem to be sorting themselves out as well with a bit of use. So yeah, some fun videos to come in the future. We've got still got the slow 1700 to come, Sony, the Panasonic deck that we've been using to test these things. We'll be going through that. HF950, got the 100, perfect 100 to come. So yeah, please like and subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me, and thank you ever so much, and see you in another video. Bye for now.